You talked about a little bit this last night and this morning. Who needs to be better on Denver for this as we look into game 3 for them to sort of steal a road game? Who specifically needs to make a jump in terms of what we've seen from the first two to allow them to, pull when they're up 8 in the fourth quarter, allow them to pull away?
Yeah, good question. I just real quick on Gabe Vincent. 8 times this postseason he's made 4 or more threes in a game. That is a single postseason record in Heat history. You think about 7 trips to the NBA Finals, lots of opportunities, lots of games played from Heat players, and he has that record. I know you tweeted this out. I think it was with a GIF or a meme, but the guy is going to get a nice little bag this summer. Just a very impressive, sustained run. On the Nuggets side, it's got to be Michael Porter Jr., right? And this, it's not just, hey, he's got to play better. I just, again, I'm putting my coaching hat on. I'm putting my adjustment hat on. I think overall, the Denver Nuggets need more off-ball action. Overall, they need more movement, especially against man-to-man. And Michael Porter Jr. has to shoot better, 3 for 17 through 2 games. Of course that. But the rhythm of just being in more movement sets, creating more opportunities to screen on Jimmy Butler so that Jamal Murray can get some space before he goes into the action, that's sort of where I would look. And I think overall, that's naturally going to make Michael Porter Jr. more effective. Yeah. He'll be more in rhythm. He'll get a couple layups at the rim. But again, we didn't talk about this. Because you asked me at the beginning, and I kind of went on a tangent about the Jokic blueprint thing. You asked me the formula. So here's what I had written down: lineup change, right? Putting in Kevin Love in the starting lineup. Okay, Kevin Love doesn't have a good shooting game, but they're plus 20 in 22 minutes. Why? Okay, think about game 1, first quarter. Aaron Gordon, Jimmy Butler is not on him. Aaron Gordon punishes every single mismatch. Well, now Kevin Love can guard Aaron Gordon. And where does Jimmy Butler go? Jimmy Butler goes to Jamal Murray. Guarded him 35 times in the half court in game 2, just 4 times in game 1. All right. That seems like a good adjustment. 3-point shooting, we're going to have night-to-night variances on that, but obviously they shot the ball well. When they have shot the ball well this postseason, they generally win. Continuing to mix up the zone coverages and taking them out of rhythm. Big fourth quarter on that. And then you need big games from the role players. I actually used to think this. I don't believe it anymore. Jimmy doesn't have to go ballistic for them to win. They've won enough games now. They've won enough games now between this year, last year, and 2020. Jimmy has to be Jimmy. Jimmy's not going to be a guy in general that's going to take 30 shots and go for 40 every night. That's not how he plays. Let's stop trying to make him play that way. Yeah. He wants to set guys up, and when you get to the end, he closes them out. What did he do last night? 9 assists. Got his shooters going, and then when it came time to win the game, he gets the and one, he hits a 3 from the corner, makes a pull-up jumper from the foul line, or gets to the free throw line once. That to me is the formula for the Miami Heat.
I think what's interesting to me about the fourth quarter last night was it was like the Heat looked comfortable. Like they looked like they did in game 7, they looked like they did in some of those Milwaukee games. I went to game 1. So this was the Nuggets' first home loss since March. I went to game 1, and I was talking to some of the Heat guys after the game, and I don't think they said this in the press conference or whatever, but they were like the altitude is a thing. They were like the first 15, 20 minutes was like, it did feel like a gut punch, which other people have said. It did feel like they got their legs underneath them a little bit. And we haven't seen, the last couple series for Denver, like they haven't really been punched in the mouth in these playoffs yet. I guess in Phoenix when Booker went crazy, and it was 2-2. Okay, yes. But I think that most people watching that series were like, unless he can keep up this historic pace, the Phoenix does not have the weapons to go head-to-head with a team like Denver. I don't know how you watch these first 2 games and you're like, Miami does. Like that, it's a different way, but they do. They have the ability to match up with what Denver can bring to the table. So I does feel a little bit like, and this just makes it awesome for us. Like we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, you said 3 things there that I want to touch on. So the first one you said was them being comfortable at the end of games and at the end of the fourth quarter. They've had more wins this season, 5 points or less than any team. I said this last night. I don't like using the war references, so I'll stay away from trenches. I call it muddiness. They're very comfortable playing in the mud. They're very comfortable with the dirty game. They're very comfortable mucking the game up. I don't think Denver's one of those teams where I'm like, no, they're soft and they don't want to play this way. They want it to be pretty. I don't think that. I've watched Jokic enough. I watched Jamal Murray enough. I've watched Aaron Gordon enough. I don't think that. But to the second point, this is really the first time that Denver has really faced some adversity. I believe that, because what were we talking about? You kind of brought it up, but what were we talking about in that Phoenix series? We kept using the word sustainable. Is Devin Booker shooting 80% on 20 to 25 shots? Is that sustainable? Probably not. Is it sustainable that you're going to get whatever it was that one game where they hit like 15 threes from their bench? Is that sustainable? Probably not, right? It always felt like Denver was in control of that series. It never felt like there was an adjustment that Phoenix made where you're like, oh, Denver's having problems with this. Well, Denver did have problems for 2 games with Devin Booker going crazy and their bench going crazy. This is so different for me.
Yeah.
Where the Heat are just a completely different team. They're a hard team to solve. It's like a puzzle with them, and Spoelstra keeps changing what the puzzle looks like, so you don't know where the pieces fit.
They're a hard team to solve, and it's scary. It's scary as a Denver fan to be like, the bench showed up last night. Like I said, they went a 40-14 run. The bench showed up. They've had problems all year when Joker's been off the floor. They were good at it for the most part last night, and you still lose at home. And it is, I guess that's what's like frustrating about playing the Heat is you just don't. They kind of had no business winning that game, and they did, and they've done this a lot now. And so you're not at a loss, but you just are like, they're tough to figure out in a way that other teams, like with Phoenix, it was like, okay, stop Booker from doing this, stop KD from doing this, let these other guys beat us. They're not going to beat us. Like Miami, who do you say that about?
Right. You just say it probably about Jimmy. Let's keep him away from the rim.
Yeah.
But I'll push back on something. The idea that they didn't have any business winning the game, I'll take the other side of that. And I thought they played extremely well. I thought Denver for stretches played extremely well. I also thought Jokic had a dominant performance in terms of scoring the basketball. And I noticed that from the jump where they get off to the slow start and he's like, okay, I'm just going to go score. And then in the third quarter, he felt, all right, this is a pivotal point in the game, because if you remember, they're down 6 to start the half. Miami gets up. It's like 66-64.
Right out of the
gate. Gabe Vincent hit some threes. And so he felt the need to score. Miami responds again. I look at this team, and again, I'll reiterate something that I think is worth. I hate predicting how many games a series goes because it's so stupid. So I don't know if this is going to go 5. I don't know if this is going to go 6. I don't know if it's going to go 7. But my expectation is that every game will be competitive. And you look back at game 1 and you're like, oh, they made some shots at the end and it, got competitive. They cut it to 10 or whatever. They played their asses off. They dictated some things to the Nuggets. They had one of the worst shooting performances of their season from their best shooters.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's simply just a make or miss league. The competitiveness, the fight, that's always going to be there from the Miami Heat. And so the expectation is we're in for a series, man. So I mentioned Michael Porter Jr. and the other guy I want to mention on Denver is Jamal Murray. Because if you look at a box score, you're like, all right, he had 18 and 10, 7 of 15 from the field, a couple of threes at the end. Like, he didn't play bad, right? It wasn't a bad game for him. But if you watch the game, he was at times fighting it. And that was really interesting. I go back to a stretch where him and Shamet kept getting into it in that Phoenix series. And he was like, no, I'm going to impose my will on Shamet. I'm going to impose my will on Shamet. He was fighting it a little bit. And even on that last play, think about this. I don't know why they did this. I don't know if it was a mistake on Jokic's part, or I don't know why if Murray wanted it. They set a high ball screen. Gabe Vincent was on Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler was on Jokic. And it's going to be a switch. And they switched it. Jamal Murray went after the guy that was giving him trouble.
But did you hate that shot, though?
No, I didn't hate the shot.
I mean, the shot was...
okay, but Gabe Vincent 6'2", Jimmy 6'6".
Yeah.
It's a different shot.
Yeah.
You do the same move, it's a different shot.
Do you think that there were parts of whatever word we should come up with, a term for what the zone is, that have made the two-man game more difficult in a way that was like unpredictable before the series started? Like, are there parts of the zone? We've talked about so much about how good that two-man game is and how dominant it is at points, and it was great in game one. But like, are there parts of the zone that are sort of like unexpectedly thrown a wrench into their ability to basically run it?
I would say in game one, my observation was in the fourth quarter they were 4 for 11 and 0 for 4 on threes. I thought they got good looks, and I thought when it got to the paint, Jokic missed a couple sort of turnaround bunnies from 7 to 9 feet. So I didn't have a problem with how they played. Miami then put the guy at the free throw line. So in the two-man action, which they had some success with, if you remember, a big bucket in that game, they'd cut it to 10, was Jamal Murray coming off against the zone, finds Jokic on the roll. He hits Jeff Green cutting out of the corner for a layup, right? That opening for Jokic to catch the ball is no longer there. So to me, it's more of a spacing issue. You've got to have an outlet. If they're going to commit 2 on the ball, because a lot of times it is that low man that's stepping all the way up to Jamal Murray so he can't come off and pull, and then they're going to commit someone at the elbow free throw line area so that Jokic can't catch the ball on the roll. Well, there's some space open.
Yeah.
Whether it is maybe the strong side corner. Make him think about that or something. Is it a full pull from the left wing where you pull all the way around to the top of key and you got an open three? That's what they've got to figure out. That was the adjustment I thought the Heat made, was they put the guy at the nail at all times.
One other Heat question before we go. The Heat had 129 offensive rating last night. They only had I don't want to butcher the numbers, but they basically had 11 shots at the rim. They were not getting to the rim at all. Is this a thing? We talked about this a little bit they struggled in getting to the rim in the game 6 in the Boston series. They were obviously shot great from 3 and were terrible from 2. Is this becoming an ongoing concern with their just sort of ability to, not execute as they need to be executing from, inside 10 to 15 feet?
We can't argue with the numbers, because a lot of times what they're using any rim pressure on is to open their three-point shooting. So they got a little bit of that last night. Jimmy Butler had 19 drives last night, only 8 in game 1. I mentioned the 2 Bam plays where he went all the way to the rim. I didn't really see that as a problem last night. You mentioned the offensive rating. The other stat I just wanted to mention, the Heat in the fourth quarter last night had a pace of 78. Which would be the slowest mark in a fourth quarter in these playoffs. So they slowed Denver down by going to the zone, and then they slowed the game down by playing slow offensively. Again, muddiness. They're comfortable with it, and they love it.